TikTok sues to block U.S. law that could ban app. 5 dead, 49 missing in South Africa building collapse. 34 recruits join Vatican's Swiss Guard. Over 40% of Americans now see China as an enemy. Shooting outside Drake's Toronto mansion. Apple releases new iPad.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Thursday, May 9th, and here are your top stories. TikTok has filed a lawsuit aiming to block a U.S. law that would ban the video app in the country unless it is sold by its Chinese parent company. In the filing, the social media company called the act an extraordinary intrusion on free speech rights of the company and its 170 million American users. It said the U.S. had put forward only speculative concerns to justify the measure and asked the court to stop it. President Joe Biden signed the bill into law last month, citing national security justifications. It followed years of debate in Washington, which has claimed that TikTok's Chinese ownership raises the risk that data on U.S. users could fall into the hands of the Chinese government or be used for propaganda.
TikTok has maintained it is independent of the government, while parent company ByteDance has said it has no plans to sell the business. The Chinese government has criticized the law as U.S. bullying of a foreign firm and signaled it would oppose a sale. Under the U.S. law, app stores would be barred from offering TikTok in the U.S. starting in January 2025, unless parent company ByteDance found a buyer. President Biden could extend that deadline by 90 days if talks are making progress. TikTok said its business was distinct, and the government could not dictate ownership of privately created speech forums. It said it had spent more than $2 billion in an effort to address U.S. concerns, creating safeguards on U.S. data.
Rescue team worked through the night, searching for dozens of construction workers buried for more than 12 hours under the rubble of concrete after a multi-story apartment complex that was being built collapsed in a coastal city in South Africa. Authorities said early Tuesday that the death toll had risen to 5, while 49 workers remain buried in the mangled wreckage of the building, which collapsed on Monday afternoon. Authorities said a further 21 workers had been rescued from the rubble and taken to various hospitals, with at least 11 of them suffering severe injuries.
The collapse happened in the city of George, about 250 miles east of Cape Town in South Africa's south coast. More than 100 emergency personnel and other responders were on the scene, using sniffer dogs to try to locate workers, some of whom were trapped under huge slabs of concrete that fell on them when the 5-story building came down. Large cranes and other heavy lifting equipment were brought to the site to help with the rescue effort, and tall spotlights were erected to allow search and rescue personnel to work through the night. Rescuers made contact with 11 workers trapped in the rubble and were hopeful of bringing them out, said Colin Daner, the chief director of the Provincial Western Cape Disaster Management and Fire and Rescue Services. He said some of them were talking to rescuers but couldn't move because they had limbs trapped under concrete.
34 new Swiss Guard recruits pledged their traditional oath in the Vatican on Monday and swore allegiance to Pope Francis in their distinctive way, raising 3 fingers to evoke the Holy Trinity while shouting the pontifical oath. The world's smallest army, founded in 1506 by Pope Julius II, is still recruited from a group of Swiss towns and villages that have provided the Vatican since then with men who guard the Pope and the Apostolic Palace. The Pope met with the Swiss Guards, their families and friends on the morning of the ceremony. He thanked them for their service and urged them to cultivate community life.
Apart from being Swiss males, recruits must be single, aged between 19 and 30, sign on for a minimum of 2 years, live in Swiss Guard quarters within the Vatican, practicing Catholics, with an unblemished character, at least 5.8 feet tall, and have completed their compulsory military service in Switzerland. And of course to be ready to sacrifice their life to defend the Pope. Training for the solemn occasion and all the ceremonies and official engagements they will have to attend in the tiny city-state also involves standing to attention for hours with their halberd. Not quite so visibly, and more frequently, they work in suits and can handle modern firearms, a handgun, taser and assault rifle, seeing to the Pope's safety on his many travels when he leaves the Vatican.
More than 40% of Americans now label China as an enemy, up from a quarter 2 years ago and reaching the highest level in 5 years, according to an annual Pew Research Center survey released Wednesday. Half of Americans think of China as a competitor, and only 6% consider the country a partner, according to the report. The findings come as the Biden administration is seeking to stabilize U.S.-China relations to avoid miscalculations that could result in clashes, while still trying to counter the world's second-largest economy on issue from Russia's war in Ukraine to Taiwan and human rights.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have both recently visited China in the administration's latest effort to responsibly manage the competition with Beijing. Despite those overtures, President Joe Biden has been competing with former President Donald Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee in November's election, on being tough on China. The Pew report, which is drawn from an April 1-7 survey of a sample of 3,600 U.S. adults, found that roughly half of Americans think limiting China's power and influence should be a top U.S. foreign policy priority. Only 8% don't think it should be a priority at all. For the fifth year in a row, about 8 in 10 Americans report an unfavorable view of China, the Pew report said.
A shooting outside Drake's Toronto mansion early Tuesday morning left a security guard seriously injured, police said. The shooting happened just after 2 a.m. at a residence on Parkland Circle, police said in a post on X. A representative for the Toronto-born rapper, who has made headlines recently over a rap beef with Kendrick Lamar, said Drake was not injured. It is not clear if the rapper was home at the time. When officers arrived at the residence, they found the security guard suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Inspector Paul Krazik said at a news conference. The security guard was standing outside a gate when he was injured.
Police said in a news release they believe the man was shot from a vehicle which then fled the scene. He remains hospitalized in serious condition, Kravchuk said. Kravchuk said that they do not know how many suspects were involved or what kind of car they were in, but noted that the shooting was captured on video. Police have been speaking with witnesses and canvassing the area for additional video. Anyone with information is asked to contact the police department. A motive in the shooting remains unclear because it's so early in the investigation, Kravchuk told reporters. Detectives have been in communication with Drake's team.
Apple unveiled new models of its iPad at an event on Tuesday, promising revamped devices at affordable prices. The announcement exemplified the current strategy at Apple, rely on new models of its signature items rather than transition to the next big product, analysts told ABC News. While the world's second-largest company in terms of market capitalization risks dependence on long-standing products in a competitive sector, analysts say the approach allows Apple to capitalize upon its loyal customer base and popular devices, while it develops new products like Apple Vision Pro, the company's mixed reality headset.
This is the biggest day for iPad since its introduction, CEO Tim Cook declared. However, with a starting cost of $3,499 and a higher-powered version at around $4,000, Apple Vision Pro remains far from a price point that would make it affordable for a wide audience, says Ben Badgerin, an analyst at research firm Creative Strategies. Further, Apple has remained largely quiet in the industry-wide race toward artificial intelligence technologies and products. In its late earnings report, Apple last week revealed a sales slump for some of its mainstay products. Smartphone sales dropped 10% over the 3 months ending in March, when compared with the same period a year earlier. Even more, iPad sales fell 17% over that period, the earnings report said. In all, Apple sales fell 4% over the 3-month period ending in March, when compared with the same stretch last year.
The answer for yesterday is D, falsify. All those who try to falsify history are bound to end up as criminals in history. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of 34 recruits joined Vatican Swiss Guard. Number 1, allegiance. 对政党、宗教统治者的忠诚、效忠、拥戴. People of various party allegiances joined the campaign. Number 2, oath. 宣誓、誓言. Before giving evidence, witnesses in court have to take the oath. Number 3, evoke. 引起、唤起感情、记忆或形象. The music evoked memories of her youth. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune in to Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I will see you next time.